After the teaser trailer yesterday, I wanted to put out there my final expectations, my final wishes and wants for the Battlefield 5 reveal. I actually made this commentary before the teaser went live, but none of the items I've listed here are affected by the reveal of that World War II setting. I've just re-recorded the start of the video, so it now actually makes sense. We're just a day away from the reveal now, and these 5 big topics are what I'm hoping to see from the Battlefield 5 reveal. So first of all, I want the stream to focus more on some of the gameplay changes and updates that we can expect. Now, we all know that these reveal events are just the start of a huge marketing campaign that EA will be running right up until the launch of Battlefield 5. But in this reveal, we have several DICE developers speaking to the audience. We have Andreas Morel, he's the senior producer, Lars Gustafsson, senior producer, and Daniel Berlin, a design director. These guys will be taking to the stage at some point to bring information to us, and I really hope that that's an indication that we'll be getting some solid details on just how Battlefield 5 is going to move the franchise forward again. EA and DICE has been teasing that the Battlefield will never be the same, so here's to hoping that's actually going to be delivered and it's not some pure marketing tactic. I mean, as good as Battlefield 1's reveal was, it only skimmed the surface of the game and gave very little detail about how the setting was going to tie into some of the new mechanics that had been implemented. I'd like to get details on things like game modes, soldier movement and handling, weapon mechanics, and things like that. That's what really interests me about each new Battlefield game. It's some of the underlying changes as opposed to some of the flashy graphics that likes to be shown off in these reveals. I think the wider community will be looking for some more in-depth information as well. The reveal is obviously set up to be as accessible and as wide-sweeping as possible, but having some segments designed for more core players, dedicated players of the franchise, I think this time will be quite important. Battlefield 1 didn't take the direction that a section of the community really wanted it to take, and I think DICE, if they've done their homework correctly, needs to satisfy some of those people with this reveal if they want those players to return to the franchise and get them playing again. Secondly, I'm going to be looking for details about how DICE and EA plan to keep this game supported. Much more frequent update systems like the one employed by Epic Games for Fortnite is a trend on the rise, and I want to know if Battlefield 5 is going to follow that trend. Recent comments made by EA CEO Andrew Wilson on an earnings call a couple of weeks back suggest the game is going to see updates almost from the moment the game is released, and that gives me hope that Battlefield 5 will see the support it needs to keep players engaged after those first few months. Battlefield games have this tendency to drop off sharply with their player numbers after the initial launch wave, and usually that's due to a lack of new content, driving players to keep coming back to the game every single day, and Battlefield 1 is a prime example of this. Now, at the launch, we saw nearly 1 million concurrent players at peak times, which is a huge number. And that was back in 2016, before the rise of Battle Royale games, so really it was a big achievement. But by the time DICE released their first DLC in March 2017, 6 months after the initial launch of Battlefield 1, peak concurrent players were sitting around 350,000 worldwide. That's still a high number, but it is a significant drop from the 1 million that we had at the launch. And that decline only continued as another 6-month wait came along for the second DLC. Now, I, and I'm sure many other players of Battlefield 1, don't want to see that happen again for Battlefield 5, and having a robust update and content delivery system will be a driving force in keeping players engaged. So when it comes to this reveal, I'm expecting to find out information about how they plan to support this game properly. Next, I'm going to be looking for mentions of operations and war stories. War stories have already been 100% confirmed as part of Battlefield 5. We're going to go back to some untold narratives about whatever setting this game is going to be. I was a fan of war stories in Battlefield 1, although I felt they could have been fleshed out a little bit more, so really, I'm looking for some high-level information around war stories, but it's really the mention of operations that's got me going. I think this mention was 100% added as a tease to the community that the mode will return in Battlefield 5, and that makes me very happy. It was arguably one of the best additions to Battlefield 1, and is likely now going to become a franchise staple. It adds some method to the 64-player madness by pitting two teams against each other in a direct attack and defend situation. Objectives are clear and easy for any player to understand, but the underlying gameplay still shines through. It was a great game mode that encompassed all that's really good about the Battlefield franchise. Now, bringing it back to Battlefield 5, I'm sure it will be awesome, but there's no denying that the mode could do with some tweaking. Some of the operations, mainly the infantry-focused ones, became absolute meat grinders, and often the map design didn't lend itself to great gameplay in certain sectors. Now, depending on how DICE structures Battlefield 5 and which game mode they will use as their main focus will depend on whether map design issues become a factor in this next game, but the emphasis on defending objectives I'm sure will still be as prevalent as ever. It was often quite difficult to win an operation as an attacker with your limited reinforcements, especially on some of the larger, more open maps. I'm looking right at you, Galicia. I think I hate you as an operations map. So while I'd like to see DICE retain that defensive advantage and make it a challenge for attackers in operations, there's always some room for changes there to give the attackers a little bit more of a boost sometimes when they absolutely need it. Another thing that I hope the reveal touches on is when we can really expect some proper hands-on time with Battlefield 5. And I'm not talking about EA Play, where it's already been confirmed that members of the public will be able to play this brand new game. I'm talking about an alpha test. Battlefield 1 ran an alpha test in the middle of the summer of 2016. I think it was late June, early July time. And having something like that for Battlefield 5 is fully to be expected. I expect the developers to point towards EA Play as the next destination for Battlefield 5 news and information, but the alpha is something that a lot of potential players will look at as their kind of like free trial. It gives them a good chance to see Battlefield 5 and whether it's a game for them or not. They don't have to pay to get in, it should be just random access like Battlefield 1, so if you're given the chance and you can get in there and play the game almost for free to really see if it's something you want to play, that's really valuable to a lot of players out there. And lastly from the reveal, something that I'm cautiously looking forward to. I'm not excited to learn about this, but I am very interested to learn about this. The monetization systems that EA and DICE are planning to use for Battlefield 5. With the rise of games as a service and the ever-mounting dislike towards DLC models that split the player base and eventually end up making it harder for you to play the content that you actually paid for, it will be very interesting to see what Battlefield 5 ends up being bestowed with. Will we see Battlefield 5 with the same old premium pass model that we've had to live with since 2012 and in my opinion is now very much out of date, or will we see something different this time around? I'm really hoping for some juicy details around that particular thing. Now, of course, I have lots of other topics in mind that I'm interested to learn about for Battlefield 5, as I'm sure you guys are as well, but we do have to remember that this is just a reveal live stream. I don't think it's going to be a proper deep dive into the game and its mechanics, although I would like to get some gritty details. My expectations aren't set too high there. The trailer, however, I'm absolutely pumped to see that. Even if it's half as good as the Battlefield 1 trailer, then I reckon we're in for a treat. But in terms of information, I'm expecting it again to be fairly high level, although I'd like DICE to go into a little bit more detail, so we've got something to actually grasp onto about Battlefield 5 as we wait for EA Play to really see some proper gameplay. But there we are then, that's my expectations, hopes, wants and dreams for the Battlefield 5 reveal. As I said, just 2 days away now, we really don't have to wait that much longer. Thank you very much for watching today. Make sure you let me know your thoughts and expectations down below in the comments section. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on. Click that bell next to subscribe and make sure they are switched on, and you can stay up to date with all the latest news and information coming for Battlefield 5. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.